Hello, everybody. This is Some Random Neko, waking up from my nap to greet the world for the day. And by greet, I mean celebrate Christmas and the coming New Year with the ultimate childhood Christmas film duology, Home Alone and Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. If you're wondering why I'm reviewing both films in one video instead of two, well, that's because despite the differences in detail, they're essentially the same story with the same base plot structure. Plus, I just really love both films and felt it was appropriate to review them together in the same video. Christmas time is here and the McAllister family is heading out to Paris for vacation. Unfortunately, they inadvertently leave behind 8-year-old Kevin while rushing off to catch their plane. However, young Kevin is thrilled by the fact that he's home alone and immediately indulges in all the guilty pleasures he was usually denied. Unbeknownst to him, the wet bandits have been robbing houses in the neighborhood and have set their sights on cleaning out the McAllister home. As Kevin prepares to defend his castle, his family does everything in their power to make it back home to him before Christmas. Then 1 year later, it's the holiday season once again, and the McAllisters are bound for Miami, Florida for vacation. Unfortunately, Kevin is separated from his family once again and lands in New York City. Fortunately, he has the cash and credit card needed to make his time in the Big Apple one to remember. However, the wet bandits have escaped prison and are in the city as well in order to pull off one last holiday heist. As Kevin prepares to spend another Christmas in the trenches, his mom sets off for the streets of New York to reunite with her lost son. Home Alone is a family Christmas comedy that's the ultimate Christmas core memory of my childhood. While the film is basically a kid's wish fulfillment fantasy about being home alone to do whatever they want, whenever they want, while proving they're not helpless because they're young and small, but competent enough to take care of themselves and some rotten adults, it's also a heartwarming film about family and forgiveness. Everything about the story, from its well-paced progression where not a single moment is wasted, to its amazing execution where everything serves a purpose and setups always lead to payoffs, makes it a timeless classic and near-perfect film. However, a great story would be nothing without great characters brought to life by talented actors, and Home Alone has them in spades. Kevin McAllister, played by talented child star Macaulay Culkin, is your average kid from the suburbs with an ingenuity for traps that spawn many fan theories about him growing up to become the Jigsaw. His mom, Kate, played by the brilliant Catherine O'Hara, loves him dearly even if she initially doesn't do a great job of showing it. I love the amazing mother-son chemistry between them, and how Kevin's competence can be clearly seen as he grows in confidence with the story's progression. Then there's the wet bandits, Harry and Marv, played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. They're an iconic duo of the bumbling villain variety, who sabotage themselves because one isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and the other has an easily bruised pride. And then we have the rest of Kevin's family who all suck because of how poorly they treat him. However, I believe they actually aren't that mean, as you can view their behavior as an over-exaggeration from Kevin's perspective. After all, he is a little kid in a large family, and it's not like he's entirely blameless either, as he didn't need to retaliate the way he did against his older brother. But that's alright, because the beginning was meant to emphasize a little kid's feelings of being overlooked or helpless even when surrounded by people, and enhances the fantasy of competency and getting to be home alone. So everyone gets a pass for being rude during a time when emotions were running high, except Uncle Frank, who can go take a long walk off a short pier because nobody likes him. And in the end, Kevin's family proved they loved him by doing everything in their power to get back home to him. The sequel, Home Alone 2: Lost in New York, is essentially the same story, but its wish fulfillment is about vacationing alone, and is set in a different location with higher stakes and fewer plot holes to help the plot keep plotting. The McAllisters are also back, and have both learned and not learned from their mistakes, as while they still slept in, Kevin's separation was more of a genuine accident this time. In contrast, the Wet Bandits, now rebranded as the Sticky Bandits, haven't learned at all, as they were dumb enough to pause their escape to try and exact revenge on Kevin, and enter another booby-trapped house thinking they didn't need to worry since it wasn't his, only to soon be proven oh so very wrong. And while the film is still a fun family Christmas comedy, it's also focused on friendship, with an emphasis on Christmas not being about the presents or the tree, but the connections you make and hold dear. I greatly enjoyed everything about the sequel, especially how it felt like a natural progression with continuous nods to the first film, such as Kevin's love for cheese pizza, Marv's fear of heights, Harry's head catching on fire again, the use of in-film movies to mess with people, and the two cans becoming two cans and a heavy pipe. I also love how the police were actually helpful this time, which is true character growth, and the parents confronting the concierge for their stupidity, which was some unexpected self-awareness. There's also a better portrayal of Kevin's family with no over-exaggeration of their rudeness towards him, though Uncle Frank still sucks, and can be explained as a change in Kevin's perspective due to his growth in confidence and grasp of his own competency that he gained from the first film. In regards to production, both films were amazing on all technical fronts. The cinematography and editing worked together to make the visuals flow seamlessly without any interruption to the momentum. The soundtrack enhanced the Christmas feel of the films beyond the decorations and setting, and the sound design added to the hilarious visual comedy, making it feel more like a live-action Looney Tunes. And the production design, especially in regards to the House of Traps, was imaginatively creative and really felt as if it was something only a kid who's watched too many slapstick cartoons could come up with. It's amazing how well the entire space was utilized to Kevin's advantage, and how you're still able to retain a sense of direction while the bandits traverse through the various rooms. And while I do find great humor in watching Harry and Marv blunder through Kevin's houses of horrors, I also find the traps absolutely diabolical because of how many times the bandits should have died or suffered major bodily injuries, especially in the sequel where it looks like Kevin's actually out to kill them. But regardless of the assault charges that were racked up, the visual comedy just works with its outstanding setup and payoff that never gets old no matter how many times you watch it. In regards to critiques though, there's not really much to criticize about either films because Home Alone and Lost in New York are practically perfect in every way that matters. However, if pressed for an answer, I'd say that there are a few too many plot holes in the first film which have to exist in order for the plot to keep plotting. Like, why didn't anyone notice Kevin was missing at any point before they got on the plane? Why didn't old man Marley question why Kevin seemed to be all alone? Why wasn't he, a neighbor, contacted by the McAllisters? Why didn't the pizza guy call the cops after he thought he was being shot at? Or why didn't Kevin call the cops much earlier? 'Cause if any of these plot holes were filled, then the film would be over before we get to the best part. In contrast, the sequel had fewer plot holes, though some still needed to exist in order to justify everything. Like, why didn't anyone follow up with the dad to see if Kevin was really his son? Or ask Kevin where he was supposed to fly to? Why didn't Kate check on the kids anyway when she got that feeling? And why did the hotel concierge just assume Kevin was a thief instead of something else like a runaway? All these plot holes can be easily ignored though, but I will concede that there is one that I couldn't get over, and that's how the films treat the passing of time. 'Cause there's no way the McAllisters would ever be able to get from their house to the gate at the nearest airport, which is O'Hare by the way, in less than 45 minutes. Nor would Kevin be able to run back home from the church and assemble his traps in under an hour in the first film, or run around New York and booby trap a house he didn't even live in under 3 hours in the sequel, or even inflate and set up the clown in the couple minutes it took for Tim Curry to get to the bathroom. Like, I understand there needs to be a sense of urgency and tension, but these countdowns were just ridiculous. In addition, the sequel was a little longer than necessary, and the talk with Pigeon Lady didn't have the same oomph as the talk with Old Man Marley because it didn't have the proper build-up. But other than that, both of these films were as perfect as they could get. Overall, Home Alone gets an A+, Home Alone 2 Lost in New York gets an A, and together, the Home Alone duology gets the coveted S rank. Both films were basically wish fulfillment fantasies for kids, but showcased impeccable storytelling, barring some necessary plot holes, and taught the importance of family, friendship, and forgiveness. It had great pacing with not a single moment wasted, and everything served a purpose, whether it be for character growth, story progression, or the setup and payoff for the visual comedy. Both films boast A-list talent, who do a brilliant job of bringing the characters to life, and the familial chemistry between Kevin and Kate, as well as the dynamic duo of Harry and Marv, were some of the best parts of the duology. The production was amazing on all levels, and the booby-trapped houses display great ingenuity befitting of a kid, and made the films feel like live-action Looney Tunes. Both films are classics for a reason, and prove themselves to be more than every other family Christmas comedy film out there. Otherwise, it wouldn't have spawned 2 not-okay standalone sequels, an actually okay reboot, and a terrible reboot where you end up rooting for the bandits instead of the kid. So if you haven't watched Home Alone yet, what are you doing? Go watch it now. And if you already have, go watch it again. 'Cause Home Alone and Home Alone 2 Lost in New York are timeless classics that'll never lose their magic, no matter how many times you watch it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Reminder that this is just my opinion, so you can take it with as many grains of salt as you want. I don't mind either way, and would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment which film you'd like me to give my 2 cents about next. This is some random Neko, going off to watch the Home Alone duology for the millionth time now. Don't forget to keep calm, just meow, and have a Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year.